Want to buy a Fox Mustang but not a full-blown Foxbody nerd? Don't worry, let's take a walk around this 1990 Mustang LX and I'll show you what to look for. Let's first start with the outside. Unfortunately, these cars are really difficult to make right once they're wrecked, so foggy headlights with rock chips can actually be a good sign. They're likely originals that indicate the front has been unmolested. Check the panel gaps around the hood and the headlights. Ford did a pretty good job of getting these panel gaps even, so wonky panel gaps are a problem. Aftermarket front bumper covers often don't line up properly to the fenders, so uneven fitment here is a warning sign. Wrecked cars also show signs of misalignment where the hood meets the fenders and the cowl. If there's trouble here, there's probably trouble underneath. Check where the fenders meet the doors and the rocker panel. Again, the gaps should be clean and tidy. Chipped paint indicates a door has been rubbing the fender because the fender was pushed back in a collision. Like a vampire, any sunlight killed the rear quarter window moldings on 87 and 93 Mustangs, so don't freak out if it's discolored, pitted, or chalky. This is common. This car's clean molding indicates it spent its life indoors, away from the sun's damaging rays. Inspect the rear corners for signs of damage. All the panels here should line up and the gaps should be even. If the back is hit, it's very difficult to get all of this to line up again. Also, it's common for the sheet metal here to be wavy on hatchback Mustangs. Rippled sheet metal doesn't necessarily mean it's hiding a repair. Hatchbacks are often more flexible than their coupe counterparts, and the C-pillar area takes the brunt of the flex. Broken and faded cowl vents are extremely common, so a Mustang with a pristine, original cowl vent is a good thing. Many Mustang LXs had pinstriping installed, so missing pinstriping can mean the car was repainted. Let's open the hood and look around. Fox Mustangs are some of the most modified vehicles ever made, so it's rare to find one with all the factory parts. Check out the upper radiator support and the headlight panel. There should be no overspray here and everything should be straight and clean. Severe front collision damage will be evident in the engine compartment, especially along the inner fender panels. Look for wrinkles and cracks in the sheet metal. The factory used spot welds, so any MIG weld beads are red flags. The engine compartments on these Mustangs were painted half-heartedly, so the paint is very thin. Don't be alarmed if gray primer is visible in several areas. Shiny paint and overspray on wiring harnesses are evidence of repainting. The bolts attaching the fenders on Fox Mustangs were painted after assembly, so if these bolts are disturbed, like the paint is chipped or the washers don't line up with the prime part of the fender, then the fender has been disturbed. Major body panels on 87 and up Fox Mustangs like this were labeled with the vehicle's VIN, which makes identifying replacement panels a breeze. Missing or DOT labels are dead giveaways that the panel is not original on an 87 and up Mustang. This car's hood's VIN label is located by the passenger's side hinge. Note how the hinge bolts look unmolested since painting. This can be a big trouble spot. Look for rust where the strut tower meets the frame rail under the master cylinder. Brake fluid dissolves paint, so leaky master cylinders breed rusty frame rails. Structural integrity in this area is critical. The distributor cover usually is gone by now, but this one has the original one, so that's a good sign. The air pump also usually goes in the landfill on modified cars, so if it has an original air pump, that's also a good thing. The heater core. It's very common for heater cores to leak on an old Fox Mustang, especially if the coolant wasn't changed regularly. Replacing the heater core is kind of a pain in the butt, so a shortcut is to bypass it with a length of hose. If you're handy and patient, we highly suggest changing the core yourself to avoid ham-fisted mechanics. Just take care not to break any of the plastic dashboard parts in the process. This car has aftermarket caster camber plates, so we can't tell, but once they were aligned at the factory alignment plates were riveted to the strut towers. If these rivets are still in place, then the alignment hasn't been altered from the factory settings, which is a sign that the car is straight. The original coolant overflow bottle is often broken and missing on these cars as well. Ford put a date code on the spark plug wires on Fox Mustangs, so if the wires match the year of the car, they're likely original, or an owner went to a lot of trouble to find some originals to put on the car. While the hood is open, check the VIN label on the front bumper cover shown here. Also check for body shop overspray on the headlight panel. It should be black and shouldn't have any body color on it. What's this? The factory air silencer? Any self-respecting 5.0 owner back in the day removed the air silencer as soon as they got home from the dealership. While keeping intake noise down, it cost a few horsepower, so most of these are filling landfills today. Let's move on by opening the doors. Look for rust hiding in here. Look in the hinge area and also the rocker panel and where the rocker panel meets the rear quarter panels. Check the door striker. If it's broken or missing, the door isn't striking it squarely anymore. It could be that the striker has moved, but more likely the door hinges are worn. Saggy doors from loose hinges are extremely common on well-loved Fox Mustangs. The hinge bushings wear with time and chassis flex. Loose doors lead to sloppy door closing, worn weather stripping, and clunks from the chassis when you go over bumps. New pin and bushing kits are available from the aftermarket and pretty straightforward to install. That being said, a car with tight hinges is a nice find and confirms a car has low mileage. To check for saggy doors, grab the end of the door and wiggle it up and down. You'll feel the slop in the hinges if they're worn. Good door hinges don't have any slop. Thin paint, clogged slots, and salty roads conspired to rust the bottom of 79 to 93 Mustang doors, and they aren't easy to fix. If the bottom of the doors are rust-free, the rest of the car probably is as well. There are VIN labels at the bottoms of the doors that should match the VIN on the vehicle, indicating they are original to the car. The seat upholstery and side bolsters, especially on cars with cloth upholstery, will often shred with use and age. Side bolsters in good condition indicate a careful owner and/or low miles. 1990 and up Mustangs featured a driver's side airbag in the steering wheel. Over time, the various airbag parts wear out and most replacement parts are unobtainable. A malfunctioning airbag system will trigger an airbag light that blinks on the dash. The light should turn on when you first turn on the key, but then go out and not flash again. A Foxbody Unicorn is an 87 to 93 ashtray door that isn't broken. If you don't know what an ashtray is, ask your parents. The factory map light used a braided steel wiring sheath that loved to shred its own insulation. The result was short circuits, blown fuses, lots of fun. If the factory map light still works, count your blessings. If your prospect has a factory radio, that's a good thing. Hopefully it's never been replaced. Hacked stereo jobs infect a Mustang with all kinds of electrical gremlins. While you're in here, check the clutch action. The clutch should feel smooth and not have any grittiness or catch at all. These clutches are cable operated, so if there's anything up with the clutch, go ahead and replace the cable with a Ford replacement cable. The aftermarket cables don't work very well and they wear out a lot faster. The odometers on 79 to 93 Mustangs rolled over after 100,000 miles, so you'll need to use other clues to determine the true mileage of a Fox Mustang. Check the doors for any rattles or anything when you close them. They should be tight and taut when they're shut. Roll the windows down to check that the motor still works, and then close the doors again with the windows down. If it doesn't rattle when the windows are down, that's even better. That means that the guides and everything inside the window are keeping it tight and not letting the window rattle around. Check that the power lumbar support still works as well. It should inflate and then deflate with the buttons. Modern ethanol fuels really wreak havoc on old fuel system components like in Foxbody Mustangs. When you turn the key on, make sure that the fuel pump cycles for a few seconds and then shuts off. Also check the door seals. If the door hinges are worn, it usually wears the seals out here as well. Fox Mustangs with old gaskets will likely leak, especially if they have synthetic oil in them. A big leak point is the rear main seal. Even on this low mileage Fox, you can see that the rear main is weeping a little bit, making the back of the oil pan damp, as well as the bell housing front cover plate. Check the floor pan and subframes for damage from jacking up or any other rust issues. Fortunately, this car hasn't been undercoated, which was really popular on some Fox Mustangs back in the 80s, but if it's not undercoated, you can actually inspect the floor pan a bit better. Even if it's undercoated, it's not that big of a deal other than just making it a big messy under there. Also check the rocker panels. Ham-fisted mechanics will jack up on the rocker panel pinch weld and mangle it. Same with the subframes. In fairness, it's very difficult to jack up a Fox Mustang without damaging it. The aftermarket offers weld-on jacking rails to make jacking more convenient and a lot safer. It's extremely common for the floor pan to crack in this area. In fact, police Mustangs had reinforcements in this area to address this issue. Most aftermarket subframe connectors have a cross brace that supports the seat mounts, reduces chassis flex, and stops this from cracking. Next, let's open the hatch or the trunk. The trunk or hatch lip is a common place for rust to hide out. Pull the body plugs and feel inside for flaky rust. There should be a VIN label on the trunk or hatch as well, and there will also be VIN labels on the inside of the C-pillar channels on 87 and up cars. Evidence of a replacement quarter panel will be in this area. Note the clean seam and pinch welds on this car, which indicate a factory job. Sometimes the rear hatch striker bushing is damaged or missing. The result is a rattling hatch. Aftermarket replacements are readily available. Another bonus is a working luggage cover on hatchbacks. These are usually broken and often missing. Check the rear bumper cover and also the back of the rear quarter panels. These areas would get beat up by stones and salt, and so they also rusted pretty readily. While the factory urethane bumper covers were notoriously wavy, this Mustang's lower bumper cover fitment is troubling. Further inspection of the lower radiator support revealed it was painted black, signaling it was likely damaged at some point and repaired. While you're under here, look for power steering pump leaks and anything else that looks suspicious. Go ahead and start it up. Wait for the fuel pump to prime, and then turn the key. The engine should fire right up, and it shouldn't be too noisy. These engines were pretty quiet even though they had forged pistons from the factory. Look for leaks, listen for the power steering pump to whine. Even though the power steering pumps were pretty noisy on these cars, it shouldn't whine loudly. It should only whine a little bit when you turn the wheel. It's no secret that T5 transmissions in Mustangs were gluttons for punishment. If you drive the car and it doesn't crunch in any of the gears and shifts smoothly, here's one more check to make sure that the clutch is releasing completely and not abusing the synchronizers in the transmission. The car is off. Yeah, your foot is not on the clutch. Okay, so go ahead and put your foot on the clutch and then start the car and keep your foot on the clutch. Okay. Now, go ahead and put it in reverse. Just go right in reverse. Yeah, so that means that the clutch is completely releasing and it's not spinning with the engine, which is what you want. I hope this video helped you out in your search for a Fox Mustang. I'm sure there's some things I missed, but this video encapsulates a lot of the things that I've learned over the decades that I've been messing with these cars. Happy fox hunting!